I spent as much time as possible in my head. I'm sure everyone thought I went to my room, shut my door, and left the world alone to watch porn or play video games, but I promise I was blissfully daydreaming my evenings away. I filled a binder with plot lines and characters, my family and celebrities, who were proud of me, challenged me, loved me, and hated me in my dream worlds. My father grew irritated at my isolation. Ironically, he was the reason I stayed in my room to create this world. Dad was a strange guy, oddly religious. He never knew who he wanted to serve, though. Dad went from being a devil worshiper to a devout Christian to worshiping something darker. One day, he asked me what I was doing, and I told him the truth. Just thinking. Dad smacked his face in frustration with one mighty tattooed hand. I jumped at the sound. He's a lazy waste of space, and loud noises scare him, Dad groaned. I wanted a son, not a... His complaints morphed to groans as he yanked at his red beard in frustration. Understanding the lines of his complaints so well they showed up in my nightmares, I didn't bother staying put. I walked upstairs to my room to daydream. His reminders of my failures as a son boomed from him for a good 10 minutes until Monday Night Raw came on and he settled in. Dad watched wrestling like he was in it, choke-slamming, countering, and submitting the opponents as if he were possessed. As a younger kid, this scared me. As I grew up, I realized he was just doing the same thing I was, fantasizing. I wished Dad respected my fantasies as I did his. Maybe life would have gone differently for us if so. Upstairs, I dreamed of a world where the wrestler The Undertaker was my brother, so my dad could have a better son. That world shredded apart as my dad's earlier words haunted me even in my dreams. I fought back, trying to mold an image of that perfect son. I wrestled with the thought until sleep took me. The next morning, after I finished my day's assignment, I was homeschooled. I headed upstairs to see my notebook torn to shreds. I lost it. I screamed and hollered, heartbroken at my lost world. Eventually, my dad came behind me, grabbed me by my hand, and pulled me outside. I thought he would beat me, but he tossed me in his truck and we drove until it got dark. Shivering on the bumpy country backroads calmed me down. My icy breath came out slower and slower. Less angry, loud huffs in rebellion at my condition, and more quiet shivering and fear at my father's resolution. Dad looked forward, spoke no words, and only opened his mouth to put a cigarette in it. He gripped the wheel with frightening fury, veins popping, arm red, hands in the practice of tightening and loosening as if he was practicing choking something. Sense of danger growing, I was drawn to his arm and his tattoo sleeve. The sleeve on his right arm had been done and redone and redone. First, a Baphomet to represent his satanic tradition, then a lamb for Christ, and then a satyr in a forest. Eventually, we came to a crossroads in the dead of night, and he stopped. My father turned off the car lights and the engine. It should have been complete darkness, but the moon lit the center of the crossroads like a spotlight on a stage. Dad spoke, but not to me. Dad was mumbling something strange. His lips and lungs worked overtime in the cold, and he only stopped to catch a breath. A cloud of white appeared from his lungs as he gasped between his chanting. Wiggling in my seat and stroking my arms, I tried to warm myself. While my eyes darted around the car for something sharp, I felt I would have to protect myself soon. The man was barely a father, but he was like a stranger now. A hand grabbed me. "Shut up," Dad said. It was his hand. His grip on me tightened. I wasn't talking. "Stay still," I obeyed. "You gonna stop all that?" he asked. "Stop what?" The stories. "Thinking, you mean," I thought but didn't say. "And then I'll be like you." "Suit yourself," Dad said without hearing a response from me. Wait, Dad, I didn't say anything," I said, and he ignored me. My father turned the car on and made a left through the crossroads. Looking through the rearview mirror as we left, I swear on my dead mother's life, I saw the light from the moon leave the crossroads, like someone in heaven turned off that spotlight. The road grew more bumpy. Bouncing in my seat, I looked outside at what could cause this. Wilderness. This road was so much wilder. We ran over roots that crawled out of the ground like dead bodies on the day of the apocalypse. Leafless, barren trees stripped of all bark, so they were naked and strange lined our descent down the road. "Hey, Dad, where are we going?" Dad grumbled, signaling for me to shut up or get hit. Within the 5 seconds, I could remain silent. I saw a tree with 5 nooses hanging from it. A slap from Dad would be worth it if he could confirm we would be safe. Dad, where are we going? He grumbled again. Daddy, just tell me you're not going to hurt me. His red beard rustled, and cigarette breath blew out a single word: no. The rickety truck crossed through a stream, and we dove deep into the bazaar. Still in the woods, whips with silver tips littered the ground in piles like leaves on a fall day. Trees were fuller this time, full of life, bark, and height. However, they were made of human skin, as if the human body could be stretched like bubblegum and pasted on a tree. I don't want to go. I don't want to go, I said, and grabbed the steering wheel from my dad's hand. Dad jerked it back. I bit his hand and tossed my body on the wheel in an insane attempt at extra leverage. The car spun, twisting into a pile of whips, slashing against a tree. Both of us cursed one another, and then we crashed, and the world went black. I woke up chained in silver in a throne room of grass, the smell fantastic like a freshly mowed lawn on a Saturday morning. Nauseous and in pain, I collapsed into the grass. But soon, despite the chains and pain, I felt free. The way the grass was so soft, the strange white light, I was in another world like my daydreams. I was happy here. I didn't want to get up. However, my father yanked me up. My dad stood to my left with a cut on his head and a bored expression. Here he is. Dad said, "That's the boy. Fix him." My father spoke to something on a grass throne, a satyr like the one he had as a tattoo. It was handsome with dark curly hair. "What, pray tell, is wrong with him?" the satyr said. "He's spending all day in his room being weird. You promised me a good kid. This one ain't even normal." "Well, what is he writing?" "He says his thoughts." The satyr clapped happily. I blushed, humbled. Hope swelled in me. Could I stay here? "Ah, so we fix the thoughts," the satyr said, "and fix him." My father shrugged. "So, we can monitor his thoughts when his eyes are open or closed, and as long as there's breath in his lungs until he is old and made of mold. And if his thoughts are not right, trust in a satyr's might." My father looked at me with a wicked nod. What did I really do to him? All I ever did was exist as I wanted to. Was that really so bad? I couldn't look at him because the satisfaction on his face told me the answer. "What are you going to do to him?" Dad asked, and this gave me a spark of joy. Was he having doubts? "We have our methods. Do you really care as long as they work?" "No, not really." Hopes dashed. I hung my head thinking about those whips we saw earlier. "And for how long would you like us to monitor him?" "I guess until he's 18. Then if he still sucks, he's someone else's problem." "And how old is he now?" 10. "Oh, wow. What a big boy." "Excellent. And do you understand and accept the conditions via all the natural laws that run our world and yours?" My father went silent for a few seconds. "No," he said. "Not yours. I don't have to accept yours. Priest Nathan told me that's how you trick people." "Clever," the satyr said. "So, you do understand and you accept the conditions via all the natural laws that run your world?" "Yes," he said, and with that the satyr sent us away. The next day I woke up afraid to think, afraid to move, ready for more pain. Pain did come, but not for me. Someone was screaming outside. So visceral, so high, so nightmarish, I forgot my concerns and ran outside. Outside, my father cried. His skin was torn from his body and plastered on the tree outside, while his red skinless body of muscle was whipped by fairies who circled around him, giggling all the way. "Oh, young master, it's not your turn yet. Your father, he must be done first. For that is the law of the world. You must be judged as you judge." "That's not any law." "Sure it is. You haven't noticed it yet. Your daddy was a real piece of work, and such nasty thoughts he had in the morning. Yuck! And violence. Oh, how he loved it. But don't worry, young master. After his 10 years, we will come for you." That was last week. Father is punished at least 12 times a day from what I can tell. My fate does not look fun.